Hey guys, welcome back to Mission Accomplished Media. I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt.
And today we're going to talk about the Colin Trevorrow leaked Star Wars script for Episode 9.
Yeah, so this came out a few days ago.
A day or two ago, yeah. About 36 hours ago.
So we don't have access to the script. So
unfortunately.
Everything we're doing is based off the research that we've done.
We watched a lot of YouTube the past day. There's a lot of notes.
So there's a lot of notes, and we're going to be looking at them because there's a lot going on with this script.
Yeah, we want to get this right. So, but it's something to talk about. It's definitely something to talk about as far as nerd culture, pop culture, stuff like that.
Yeah, and as someone that likes to think of themselves as a writer, I understand that early drafts of scripts are not always going to be the script that's used to shoot a movie. And Mike,
of course,
Mike is the same way. But I think what you'll see is when we start discussing this, that there's details to this script that are just much more interesting, much more nuanced.
Mm-hmm. And they did use elements, though. You can tell that they used elements from this script in, like he should have gotten a screenwriting credit. We're gonna get into it. We'll get into it.
So basically, what it comes down to is a lot of the stuff that's in here is less visually specific, more character nuanced,
but completely appropriate for the universe.
Yeah, but also harder to possibly translate on film.
Maybe. Let's get into it and we'll see. So, all right, we start out with the opening crawl, and the opening crawl says that Kylo and the First Order pretty much rule the galaxy with an iron fist, and that they've stopped all galactic communications between systems. Yes. And petty crimes can get you executed. It's not a place that you want to live in right now.
Right. So right away, it feels a little bit more desperate
and dark.
Which
is for the last we have to go, and the last movie is pretty. It should be dark. I think all the Harry Potter movies were dark. If this is for kids, then you start with number 1, 2, 3, and you work your way, and they get progressively darker. Yeah. And I think that Disney forgot about that.
Well, it's been, how long has it been since Force Awakens came out?
2015? 17?
So, you're talking about 4 years.
Yeah.
So the kids that saw that movie are now 4 years older, so they should be able to handle more adult, more challenging motifs and ideas than just, oh, this guy's bad.
Yeah. So we've got... the opening scene opens on the First Order and the Rebellion and the Resistance having a battle over the Quate shipyards. And if you guys know anything about the expanded universe, the Quate shipyards are very important. It's pretty much the main shipyard for the galaxy, for the Republic, for the Empire, for the New Republic in the expanded universe and other canon.
Oh my God! Yeah. You think about this, and if you've seen what came out in the theater, and how those ships just come out of
the ground.
The ground.
It doesn't make any sense.
And this makes so much more sense. That
this is where all
the New Order's trying to take over a shipbuilding area so that they can take the ships that are already built.
So it ends up being that Rey and Finn and some other people, possibly Poe. It's not necessarily, we couldn't find exactly who was in this scene, but definitely Rey. They're disguised at one point. And we see that they end up revealing themselves, and they are close to this, I think it's a Galaxy class or something, Star Destroyer. It's called an Eclipse class. It's one of the biggest Star Destroyers you can get. They end up stealing it because it just got put together and there's no crew on it. So, or minimal crew. Minimal crew.
That would be a cool thing to see.
Yeah, and also it's completely filled with, it's when I say just got finished, that means that it's completely filled with all the weapons, all the TIE fighters, all the ground vehicles, all the armor, everything that you possibly need to get an army up and started, which comes into play later. So then we're going to cut to the Knights of Ren, who end up meeting some Admiral Vaughn, and one of the, they're kind of like, what are you doing? You messed up. They're stealing some stuff. And they end up killing that guy, so they kill him.
To me, that right there is really important, because the Knights of Ren meant nothing.
Nothing in this. They literally showed up to sell toys, and there was no characterization to them whatsoever.
I will never forget how that scene played out.
No.
Oh, Knights of Ren.
Cool. Anyway, we're not here to bitch about Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. We're here to talk about Colin Trevorrow's Duel of Fate script, which is the name of what the episode would have been if it was up to him. And that's awesome because it references Phantom Menace 1, or the Phantom Menace, and everything between Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that this is important, it's definitely important, because if Qui-Gon Jinn didn't get killed, Qui-Gon would have been the one to be Anakin's master,
right?
Not Obi-Wan. And
so maybe
Qui-Gon might have succeeded.
A stronger master.
A stronger, more wise master
right.
would have been in charge of Anakin as an older, angry Padawan.
Right.
So that's just the implications. You guys get it. If you're fans, you get it.
And plus, we get to see the Knights of Ren actually do something.
Do something, yeah, and have personality. If they're talking to someone, that means they're speaking.
Right.
I don't even know if one of them even said anything more than a grunt in Rise of Skywalker. No. Well, then we cut to Coruscant, which is weirdly absent in this most recent sequel trilogy. I don't think we've been on Coruscant at all, although in Force Awakens, I thought that's what they blew up with the 5 planets, but that was just some random system. No, we're going to blow up a whole system, not just a planet. That's all that was just them doing that. So cut to Coruscant, and it's no longer the vibrant city planet. We go deeper and deeper, and we end up seeing the different architecture of the different empires and republics and owners that have run this planet.
So it's like History Underground?
Yeah, it's like you can just tell the architecture and how it
cool.
changes, yeah. And then, the entire population of the planet is held under the First Order at this point. Admiral Hux is now Chancellor Hux.
Oh, okay.
And there's a scene with Hux addressing the nation and actually having a traitor executed. And the traitor's name is Bizkova. So Bizkova is actually electrocuted by a light blade guillotine as well.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And the First Order is in league with alien warlords, which is how they found this traitor, an alien warlord that they've been working with.
Is this the spy that we see?
This may be that spy. This may be the guy with the horns. And it might be him, because, he already executed. And with the light blade guillotine, the guy, they chopped his head off.
Yeah.
So
it's a decapitation, and that's what we see.
Which is exactly what this would be.
Yeah.
So again, there's something that is similar. There, an execution of a rebel, which we do see his head get thrown on the table.
Yeah.
We just don't see everything else. So the First Order, it's implied and shown that the First Order have allies and in the form of power-hungry villains, like warlords and stuff like that. So I think ends up being a conversation between Hux and somebody about Kylo Ren's search for MacGuffins, I guess we would call it at this point.
Yeah.
So at that point it cuts to Mustafar, where we have Kylo alone, but he has a droid with him. And Kylo he's got stubble, he's dirty, he's obviously been searching for stuff for a long time. He's obviously been looking for these MacGuffins for a while. But at the same time, we see him and he's being haunted by Luke's ghost.
Dude, that when we were talking about this just sounded,
see you around, kid.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It just sounded so much cooler than what they did. I mean, to be tortured by the ghost of your uncle,
it just reminds you about how you killed your dad all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so it ends up being that Luke is with him and is saying stuff like, this is where the dark side leads, an empty tomb, because what Kylo ends up coming across, it doesn't provide him with what he's looking for. So now he's back to square one. And then you're searching for Ben. I know what you're searching for, Ben. Power and strength, but your master's promises will be hollow. And Ben says, that didn't turn out well for you. You're a ghost. I'll be more powerful than you. Is pretty much what they say to each other. He does eventually find a Sith holocron through his searches. I think this cuts to a couple different planets, real quick, of him ripping things out and finally finding one.
So can you explain, even for me, what a holocron actually is?
Okay, so a holocron is a vessel that is created using, not using the Force, it doesn't come out of nothing, but you kind of use the Force in creating it, so that you're able to take a piece of yourself, and kind of put a piece of your soul, your essence, whatever your consciousness.
So it's like the Ring of Power, or
a Horcrux from Harry Potter, or some other kind of trope that's been out there. The mask, and the mask, where he puts the mask on,
it gets the power.
All that stuff, all that kind of stuff.
So basically, this replaces what we see for that
Wayfinder thing.
Wayfinder.
Yeah, that green thing he pulls out, but that does look just like a holocron.
Yeah.
But it's a little different.
Right, it's more tech than.
Yeah, it's more tech than
spirit.
Than occult, I guess we would say, right?
Supernatural.
Yeah. So
science, not magic.
Yes, exactly.
When Kylo Ren pulls that Wayfinder out of that little tomb, it looks like tech.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's blinking and shit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I should throw up an image of the Wayfinder right now from Rise of Skywalker, and then throw up an image of a Sith holocron. Okay, right above that. I'll put up a Sith holocron right above that. So yeah, hopefully that works. It's going to be a little off center as usual. Not, it's fine. Anyway, let's get back into this. So does it turn out for you? Oh, here we go. He finds the Sith holocron, and it ends up projecting Palpatine, which says, "Lord Vader, young Skywalker will be ours. Prepare for the unseen just in case. If he strikes me down, take him to the Remnicor system. Take him to Torvalum, who instructed me." That's my Emperor voice. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right. So the holocron then scans Kylo and his face. And we're not sure if he's got his mask on or not. It's implied he doesn't with the scruffiness before. But the holocron realizes it's not Vader. And from there...
Yes, so it like basically explodes.
It blasts out, like some dark side force energy blasts out and attacks Kylo in the face, and it ends up injuring his face and making it veiny and weathered, almost reminiscent of Palpatine. Yeah. Maybe not as bad though, with that whole unlimited power scene from the Revenge of the Sith. So so then we're gonna get that. Boom! It happens, and then it cuts to Leia on Korolev.
Well, if we could backtrack,
okay.
I think that's important. Like the fact that he's getting injured. First of all,
it goes along with a lot of other Star Wars lore where the dark side people end up either being injured and using like dark tech or dark side technology to make themselves better again. Yeah. Like there's Darth Malak from the Old Republic RPGs. Who doesn't actually have a lower jaw in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. He just has a thing that he puts in there and he talks through it. Okay, so then we're going to cut to Leia on Korolev, where the Resistance base is now located, and she feels what's happening to Kylo, and Chewbacca is there to comfort her. Right. And there's a Lieutenant Connix or something like that, who's got a scar from some sort of battle.
Oh, which would have been a great part for somebody like Dominic Monaghan?
Maybe, right? So all the guys who went on the mission at the Kuwait shipyards have returned. And the rebels return with the stolen Star Destroyer, which would be really cool, having a Star Destroyer land, having everybody panic, and then have Rey step out. So Rey is actually
this huge ship descending, right, and then all these rebels running up to it, and 5 people walk out of it.
So Rey is actually mind wiped or mind tricked the small crew that was there, and she turns them over to Leia. And Leia, being who she is, and the Resistance being what it is, actually sends them on their way. Mind-wiped, but sends them on their way somewhere else. They kind of abandon them on the planet, but not in a way where they're going to die. They have more than a good chance to live.
Yeah, they set up a refugee camp.
Ish, yeah. So then we go. Rey and Poe and Finn have some funny, quirky dialogue, and it seems like they're friends. It doesn't seem like they're at each other's throats like in this one.
Yeah,
Finn and Rey have a few moments, and Rey thinks she's failed, and she doesn't think she can be a Jedi that everybody wants her to be. Finn asks about Kylo Ren and their connection, and Rey says that she wakes up every night screaming because of the nightmare she has from her force connection with Kylo Ren. Finn then says it's too late to change Kylo. But Rey corrects him and says that it's never too late to change. You taught me that, Finn. Right. Because Finn's a former stormtrooper. And Finn's kind of like, all right. And that solidifies their relationship with this conversation.
Right, and how important would that have been in this movie? You're supposed to be completing these character arcs. And there's no character. There's nothing. And there's
a meme out right now where it's John Boyega as Finn. And it just says, Rey, and there's every single time that he's screaming in the movie, and it's just, Rey, because that's his character in this. But I mean, besides shooting down the thing in Rise of Skywalker, he had no point. Anybody, any random troops could have gone there and done that.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be him.
No, it didn't.
It didn't have to be him at all.
It didn't.
So scanning, back to where we found it. Okay, so the new Star Destroyer, we find out, is full of all that they need for an army. Now they just need an army. Rey is consulting Jedi texts from Octo, and she finds out that under the Jedi Temple is a communication system that predates the Old Republic. Ooh. And the Old Republic is old.
Yeah.
Thousands of years old. So it cuts to Rey, and she's consulting with the Jedi texts from Octo that she took, and she finds out that under the Jedi Temple is a communications device that predates the Old Republic. And this is important because the Old Republic is thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And if it's from the beginning or the middle of the Old Republic, then the First Order isn't going to have the technology to shut it down.
Right.
So that comes into play in a couple of whatchamacallit, like scenes later where we're talking about it and how are they going to do this and who's going to go. But yesterday you made a good point about what this reminds you of.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me of like the watch pyres of Gondor. That get lit in
Gondor calls for raid!
Yeah, right.
It's kind of like, it's MacGuffin-y, but it's not. But it serves its purpose. They don't have to take it with them, or they know it's there. Right. They just have to turn it on.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's a little bit better than finding a wayfinder, than two wayfinders and a dagger and a this.
Yeah.
And also a dagger that's implied that's an ancient dagger.
Yeah, but somehow
it's
still...
not, but somehow still lines up to a very modern thing, a very modern ruin of the Death Star 2. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in Rise of Skywalker, and it works here because they just have to go there. So yeah, it says this comm system is connected to up to 50 other planets and can be activated if they get there, and it'll send a signal out. It's a force beacon. Mm-hmm. So somehow it taps into the force and sends a beacon out to the people that need to see it.
That's cool. That's a cool little way to circumvent that issue of getting people to man the army.
So they end up making a plan to go to Coruscant and to turn this beacon on, and hope is all they have left, is what Rey says.
Ooh, perfect.
So she's training to get ready for this, and Luke appears to her. She's struggling, and she isn't. She's obviously not a Mary Sue. There's no scene. Yeah, there's no scene with her floating in midair with rocks around her, and then her doing an obvious wire flip to the ground.
Yeah.
Force Ghost Luke is talking to both Kylo and Rey at the same time. He wants Rey to get stronger in the Force, but he wants Kylo Ren to let Ben Solo back out of himself. So Kylo comes back to Coruscant. He's in bad shape, and his face is nasty. So he ends up having them replace it with some Mandalorian cybernetics and Beskar kind of a hybrid thing. And it's implied that you hear it sizzling into his skin. He just puts, he doesn't care. He just wants to fix the face. And just not have to ever worry about it ever again. So after surgery, he confronts Chancellor Hux, and he says, I don't need titles. I have no need for pomposity and parades and stuff like that. He's very dismissive of Hux and his station. Luke continued to haunt Kylo, and he's talking to Ren too. It's cutting back and forth between them. And Rey says stuff like, no, it says balance the dark suffocates the light, or the light suffocates the dark over and over and over. How is that balance? Luke says, I've had that anger. My father had it too. And so she says, so says my master and his master before him. 1,000 masters so eager to tell us how to live. And Rey also says, I've spent my whole life looking for a family. I have them now, and I won't abandon them. Mm. And Luke says, the Force is speaking to you. And Rey says, maybe I'm not who the Force thinks I am. Luke replies, who are you? And Rey says, I am no one. And Luke eventually says, if you really believe these things, then maybe the last Jedi is dead. And Rey says, maybe he is dead.
Yeah.
So maybe it's you. Maybe you're the last Jedi.
Right. So she's basically saying that if she does this, she's going to do it her way.
She's having all the doubts that Luke had as he went into the tree on Dagobah to face himself as Vader.
Right.
So that's it's great. It shows that she is more conflicted than that. It adds so much to her character. She's such she's such a bland slate in this movie.
Well, no,
who's just I just want to save Ben Solo. It seems like she doesn't care about anything but Ben.
There was just never enough time for anything.
No, we're also going to admit the caveat that this script should have also, in our opinion, been split into 2 movies.
Absolutely.
Like Deathly Hallows,
Hunger Games,
and then there's another one that did it.
Twilight.
Thank you. So those are major franchises in the past 10 years, in the past decade that have done it.
Even if you want to consider it Infinity War.
Yeah. Technically, you know what? I want to say that. I do.
Yeah.
I do want to say that.
They're really one movie.
So cuts back to Kylo, and he's going to Hux. He tells Hux, I'm going to go searching for some more stuff, for some power. Hux is like, it's fine. I got everything covered. I don't need grand. And then Kylo's like, I don't need grand processions and titles.
Right.
I have better things to do. So we're getting back to that. And he's like, power. I'm looking for power of the dark side. So Hux says, is this from the Sith? Oh my God. Is this from the Sith texts.
Yes.
Sorry, that's a lot of consonants right there, guys. Tongue twister. And Kylo says, "It is in my reach. The ability to destroy a planet will be insignificant to the power of the dark side that I will find."
Wow. Here's the thing to me. I mean, first of all, this shows Kylo Ren as a calculating, evil.
It's almost like he's grown as a character and he's no longer an emo teenager
who
wants to smack at some computers.
Yeah.
Smash my helmet. Right. Put it back together again. I can't make up my mind.
I'm going to put red marker on.
Yeah, I'm going to put red markers on it to sell more toys.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like, again, to me, this requires nuance.
Yeah.
And nuance was not included in Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker is just keep going. So fast. This scene should be so fast you shouldn't have time to think. You shouldn't have time to question. Don't question JJ. Don't question him. That's pretty much what that movie was, guys.
I really don't think it's JJ's fault, though.
The fact that he's covering it up means you're part of the problem.
Okay.
You and your mystery boxes for the past 15 years, still not over loss. Still not over it. So anyway, Rose, Finn, C-3PO, R2-D2 go to Coruscant, and they to try to light the beacon. The droids are awesome in this movie.
They are.
At one point, it doesn't really get into it, but at one point C-3PO actually has to kill another droid, and he's kind of explaining why he has to do it, but in his C-3PO way.
Right.
And then he does do it. He does murder another droid.
Yeah.
Which, for C-3PO, is probably the darkest thing he's ever had to do.
Absolutely.
But also would be completely in tone with the last movie of a saga, of a 9-movie saga, and it getting darker and darker until the dawn.
And it's not only, it's like this, like C-3PO, I would assume, would realize, like he does in the movie that's published, that if he doesn't make this decision, everything fails.
Yeah.
And so, again, it just seems like this one is more nuanced.
It's definitely not taking one last look at my friends that I've only known for 3 weeks, and no one here besides Chewie knows me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good riddance at that point, right? So, Kylo is going to the Sith base of operations, which is not Exegol. I'm not sure where it is. And then Rey is going on a journey. She doesn't know where to go, and she isn't looking for daggers or MacGuffins. She's looking for, the Force to tell her where to go.
Yeah.
So her, Poe, and Chewbacca go to some planet and where there's a seer, or a mystic of some sort that Leia tells her about. And she ends up going to that planet. And this is very similar to... it's very similar to Empire Strikes Back, where they split up for a little bit and then come back together in the next movie. They kind of it happened last movie, but again, The Last Jedi I didn't think did it well, but I think it would have worked better in this movie, to be quite honest. So it's very much a so the character interplay up until this point is for everybody who's read this script it's supposed to be great.
Yeah.
The dialogue is great. They're not at each other's throats. They realize how desperate they are, but they're not attacking each other like Poe and Rey are through half this movie.
Well, Poe's very passive aggressive throughout the whole movie. It always seems like he's got a quip or got some type of attitude, and it's just he's supposed to be a commanding officer at this point. And
in Return of the Jedi, they're also split up as well, and they end up going up to separate ways, and that also gives some different character dynamics and stuff like that. And just I'm going to say, rather than Empire Strikes Back splits up, this is way more, and more appropriately so, like Return of the Jedi split up, where Han and Leia go to the planet with the Ewoks, and then Luke goes up with the ships, and they got to take out the shield generator and stuff like that. It just seems much more like a good callback.
Yep.
So long story short, Finn ends up meeting a bunch of stormtroopers who he knew when he was being trained, but they end up admitting to him that they don't feel like being stormtroopers. They don't want to be stormtroopers.
Right. They've defected, or at least
and they're living in defected or not defected. What is it? AWOL. They've gone AWOL or whatever, and they're living in the lower levels of Coruscant.
They're deserters.
Yes, so they're deserters. So, but they still want to fight the First Order at this point because they realize how bad it is.
Right. So
Finn realizes that there's a huge potential to gather pretty much an army, or at least a battalion of some sort.
Without the pretty horses.
Yeah, without the pretty horses, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much that you can see, like, Finn can recognize that the fascism of the First Order has come to Coruscant, and he, he's ready to get some stuff.
Right. He's also ready to take on a lead, like a commanding role.
Commanding officer.
Right.
At one point in Rise of Skywalker, they say general.
Right.
But we don't. Why would a general lead a cavalry? Because that's all he did. He led. A little bit of cavalry. He should have been on, like, generals are leading starfleets or armies.
Yeah, we don't really see how big that attack force is, but
the attack. No, we do. It's one troop lander. That's it, full of horses. Right. That's it. That ain't an army.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not a general. He's a glorified lieutenant.
I'll let that slide a little bit because you're talking about a small rebel force. He's the general in the sense that he's making decisions. I actually like the fact that they say he's a general and then he's actually in the vanguard.
The vanguard.
Yeah.
See, I think it would have been better if he went with Lando.
Right.
And then he would have been the general of that civilian fleet.
Right.
In Rise of Skywalker. But let's keep getting into this. So Kylo, it cuts back to Kylo, and he's traveling, and he realizes that Vader let love destroy everything he had worked for.
Right.
And he destroys Vader's melted helmet and says, "I will never go down that path." So he heads off to Remnicor, where everything he needs is supposedly located, and he says goodbye to Hux, and he takes off for that planet. So Rey and Poe are leaving, and she has a great talk with Leia. Rey is constantly in doubt of who she is because she is not in command of all of her powers yet. And Rey says, "I can save Kylo." And Leia says, "I believed that once too." Believed that once too.
Past tense.
But the boy I know is gone. Rey, Luke has trained me well. I can flip him back and turn him back to the light. Leia, you can't train for certain things. Rey, there are rules, Jedi rules. And Leia replies, "Written by who? Some old man 1,000 years before you were born? My whole life I've heard about balance. You're not my father, and you're not my brother. Rey, you're something new. What happens? Remember, no matter what happens, remember, the Force has chosen you. Your story isn't written by anybody else but you."
Wow. This seems like they're actually specifically breaking away from the Skywalker story.
And in this, she does not have a connection to Palpatine.
Oh my God! Like how much better? Like because for me,
it turns the Force into democratic again.
Not only that, but it's just like for me, the whole purpose of this movie before I went to see it, in my head, it was
get away.
They're going to complete the Star Wars story for Luke Skywalker or the Skywalker name, so that they can move forward in Star Wars.
Instead of good storytelling, and you're right, move forward. This is exactly what I'm about to say. Instead of doing the right thing and ending the story with a nice point and tapered point that could lead into something else.
You have a denouement.
Instead, love that phrase. Not enough people use it.
Right.
But so it would just lead nicely into whatever the hell they wanted to do next, rather than, oh hey, we still have Skywalkers.
Yep. And extra lightsabers.
Right? Oh yeah, and extra lightsabers. Even though they destroyed the planet of it. Oh, I can't even stand the sequel trilogy. Man, I mean, that's the thing. I was like holding out hope. It's like Force Awakens. Sorry, go ahead.
It's really funny. Like, as much as people like knock on the prequels, at least they were able to complete the story.
All the plot points. We've said this before, and we're going to say it again. All the plot points were there.
Yeah.
Tied up. And
execution.
Execution. The execution was George Lucas didn't have somebody saying, "George, buddy,
right,
buddy,
let's
rein it in."
Right.
Yusa got to rein the insa a bitsa, okay?
Yeah.
That's what you got to do here. But he didn't have too many yes men. I think. I think he realizes that now. And we're going to cut into. I think I've gone too far in a few places. Right about here.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
Yeah. Where were we at? We got a little distracted there with that denouement because I love that. And here we go. So the First Order is now able to track the missing Star Destroyer. They might not have thought of that, turning off the tracking device or whatever. But the rebel base is being evacuated because of that, and the new Eclipse Star Destroyer is now being packed full of as many rebels as it can possibly fit. Because this is like the biggest class of ship they've got in the universe. Like not in the universe. I mean in the universe of Star Wars.
Right.
Not like it's the biggest ship, but it's the biggest class of ship. So it's the first, I guess, capital class ship that they would have. Because everything else is frigates and whatnot for the Resistance.
Okay.
Up until this point. So we've got Rey and Poe are being chased by the Knights of Ren while they're doing this stuff. They end up going to the Bonadan, and Kylo is on Ren's Corps, and he confronts this guy called Tor Valum, a Sith Master. And it ends up they end up describing them the type of character as a Shelob from Lord of the Ring, which you take it now because you're the
Shelob is the
TR expert.
Shelob is the big spider at the top of Kirith Ungol. So I'm not.
Is that the thing that Sam's like holds the light up to? Okay.
So it's a spider creature. So I'm not sure if they're saying that this is a spider creature or something that is just a more powerful evil.
Yeah, it's a more powerful evil
entity that's not controlled by Kylo.
It says it's an alien of unknown origin, over 7,000 years old, that is spindly intense, full of sinew and muscle. So. I mean, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is a picture of Darth Plagueis. And I'll put up a picture of Darth Plagueis right now. He's very tall, he's very long, and he's very sinewy, and he's supposed to be Palpatine's master.
Okay.
So if, like, Tor Valum could very well be Darth Plagueis' real name, and I don't think anybody else has said that thus far.
Maybe that's the code word, so that he, like, accepts you as a trainee.
Possibly, who knows?
Know, like... You call him by his actual name, and he's like,
"Yeah,
okay, you've seen you're like a scion of Vader or something like that, you know." Yeah.
So Tor Valum is pretty much the equivalent of Yoda, you know, for the Palpatine and for Kylo at this point. So there's a scene where Kylo has to face a Force vision of Vader, and they fight. And this is supposedly, from the way that it's described by a lot of people online and a lot of people who have read the script, it's supposedly the most like just flat out two Darth side people going at it, full of anger, full of rage, lightning, Force lightning, just
there can be only one.
There can kind of Highlander kind of a thing. Like Kylo is like, oh no, like now because now you realize that Kylo hates his grandfather.
Imagine how many chances J.J. Abrams would have had to use lens flare in a scene like that,
right?
I mean, come on.
Right? You missed out, JJ.
How could he not read that scene and be like, so much lens flare?
Oh, my God.
Lens flare!
Star Trek. All right.
There was a lot in this movie, too.
You know what?
There's scenes
it's so fast, I didn't notice.
There's scenes where they're panning across, like, a scene, and there's so much lens flare, I'm like...
it happened so fast for me.
Lens flare bothers me so much, so I pay attention to a lot of it.
So they end up having a fight, and Kylo loses to Vader, which right.
So do you think he's got damage from that?
I don't know. Well, it's a Force vision kind of a thing, so who knows? Possibly.
Like he's just.
But because of this, it's implied that Kylo eventually turns on and kills the Tor Valum character because he just thinks it's his fault, maybe, or you didn't train me well enough. So we cut to Poe and Rey. They land on Bonadan. They end up meeting the Mystic or the Seer. The Seer touches Rey and says, it has a vision of where she has to go.
Right.
And lets her know where she's got to go. But she creates a star chart for Rey out of this. And that she's like, you have to go here. So the Knights of Ren eventually catch up with them. And she's confronted by the Knights of Ren. And she ends up having a battle with them with this new staff, double-bladed lightsaber that she's made from all the lightsaber parts that she has, and her staff from the first two movies, which would have been such fucking fantastic character growth.
Not only that, but
she would have officially been a Jedi at that point too.
She's officially a Jedi. She's using something that she's very familiar with, her staff.
That
we've seen
which
her with.
Ups her fighting ability.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
And then is this like the first Jedi we've seen with that type of weapon?
With a staff?
Yeah.
Rather than just the double-bladed? The staff? Yeah, it would have been.
Right.
In canon, it would have been the first one with a staff lightsaber at the end.
Yeah.
Because it probably would have only had blades like this big.
Right.
Rather than Darth Maul's,
double end.
Yeah. thought I left that over. Anyway, but glad I didn't. So I'm going to keep that in because it's authentic. Where are we at here? So she ends up escaping. She defeats the Knights of Ren. It's implied that she might kill one or two of them as well, only because she has to specifically to defend herself.
Right, she's defending herself.
So they end up going to Mortis. That's where the star chart leads.
Right. And
Kylo Ren and Rey end up going to Mortis, and Leia asks Lando at this point, it must cut back to her, to gather pirates, smugglers, civilians, whoever she can come up with. Mm-hmm. And Lando's like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if I can. But eventually he does. So Rose actually gets captured during the mission to Coruscant and is tortured by the First Order. One of the people who reviewed the script says that she may betray them with some tiny little bit of information but the audience is real upset about it because it's like, way to give your friends.
Right.
But later she ends up making up for it because she ends up escaping and messing with one of the ship's navigation systems while she escapes because of all the stuff that's going on, and we'll get to that later. So actually, the movie is pretty much, the script's almost, up at this point. Kylo and Rey end up going to Mortis, which is, where it seems like the last fight of the movie takes place. And the Force is everywhere on Mortis, it seems. And they end up battling one another, and it's implied that Kylo is sucking the Force energy out of Rey, but then Rey is sucking the Force energy out of everything else around her.
Right.
So it's almost like she's got her light side version of like Force heal, and he's got his dark side version of Force heal. So that's still in the script. They battle, and then at the end, Luke, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and other Jedi appear as Force ghosts.
Oh, cool.
And they try to turn Ben to the light, but they can't, and Ben ends up being exhausted by having to hold them off with their Force powers. And Kylo tells Rey that he ends up killing her parents at Snoke's behest. And then he says, "No one is no one." So you're a person, and you matter, and you're the last Jedi. So Rey comes back to Coruscant, which is liberated, and everybody wins. Lando, and before this, he ends up showing up with the pirates, smugglers and bounty hunters, and it's also shown that during that scene when they show up, when the Force, when that Force beacon does end up going off. Mm-hmm. It goes off on certain planets and we get flashes of monks or the Night Sisters of Dathomir, or all these other smaller Force users all over the galaxy that aren't Jedi but are part of the Jedi, or part of the original. Force. Yeah, small, the Jedi are. I would you should say they're the knights. They're the knights in shining armor of the Star Wars lore. Yeah. They might be a little bit corrupt and misguided in the prequel trilogy, but before that, they really are we stand for good. Like Superman stuff.
Yeah. And Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, and so, but there are there's smaller tribes that found this stuff out, and these are the people that they're trying to find. It's even at one point in the script it says that whatever planet or wherever Bosk is, the bounty hunter Bosk, which we'll throw up right now, he ends up living in luxury as a Trandoshan somewhere. So it's implied that he's either a really successful bounty hunter or a warlord of some sort at this point. And the beacon goes off, and he looks at it and kind of looks around and questions everything that he's got, because what he's got is probably from the First Order and the Empire.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is, and that right there adds so much to the character, because you're like, well, who's his family then?
Right.
What's he a part of? Mm-hmm. It adds so much. This adds so much to the Star Wars universe, cutting to all different types of Force users all across the galaxy.
Yeah, and again, it does so much better what we thought the mission of this movie was.
Yeah.
Is to get away from the Skywalker saga. And it comes down to I can still see some pacing issues if this what we've researched was made as one movie. It'd still probably be a little quick.
Yeah.
But I think if this script was 8 and 9, or if this was 9 part 1 and 9 part 2, then this would have been.
I would go 9 part 1, 9 part 2. I still let whatever your name is, Johnson Face, have his movie.
Yeah.
Let him have his movie.
I'm just saying in hindsight being 2020, because this script was written in what, 2016?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that's normal for a script to be written 2 to 3 years early before,
Yeah.
especially a first draft or a second draft. You know, so I mean, there was time to consider what they were doing with episode 8 and really try to fix it, or just look at this script and say this is a good script. It needs a few tweaks.
This is a good script, and there's a lot of stuff in here. Like Han Solo is in this script as well, and he confronts Kylo, but Kylo rejects him.
And it still does all the fan service stuff too.
Yeah.
You have.
There's plenty of.
You know,
At one point, it seems like Chewbacca is in an X-wing as well. They're like only for a little bit. He's like flying from one ship to another ship. I'm sure he's gonna get in the Falcon again, but like. Chewie in an X-wing would have been amazing because he would have had his feet up to his chin and he would have been flying. But it would have been great. It would have been great.
Funny if he was like the wing leader.
That would have been great. That would have been fantastic. So I guess what your thoughts and my thought on this is that we wish that Star Wars Episode 9 Duel of Fates was a thing.
Yeah.
And that if you're going to ever going to reboot the series, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to do it with this script that we just read off our cell phones.
I think they should just do a honeymooners thing where like they should
just have them wake up and be like, oh, it was all a dream. It was all a dream.
They just start over.
Star Wars Episode 10 Duel of Fates out now. Yeah. Just drop it. I mean, like 2 years from now, just drop the trailer, and the next day it's like on streaming.
Ray wakes up. She had been sleeping in the sun too long.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm still in Jakku.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I gotta go get some portions.
Yep.
Anyway, so thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate you guys tuning in and hearing us banter back and forth about this new Colin Trevorrow leaked Star Wars Episode 9, The Duel of Fates script. That was a mouthful.
And this is something that like we're gonna try to do, but these shows are a little bit harder because, first of all, you don't necessarily always get the leaks.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it's not, again, we didn't see the script, so we have to research it.
Yeah, we have to research it a lot.
That means a certain amount of other people have had to at least receive the script.
Exactly.
Basically what I'm saying is like, we're trying not to judge this script because too positively or too negatively. In either way, to me, because for me, I'm not actually reading it.
Okay.
I really do want to say mission accomplished for this script, or at least the ideas that we're hearing.
Yeah.
Because
I'll agree. Boom.
yeah, I mean, this sounds like it would have been so cool.
Yeah.
It would have hit all the fan service notes. It would have built character and established relationships. We would have seen less set pieces, but higher quality scenes.
Yes. Between characters who would have grown before our eyes and would have actually got something out of the movie.
And then Kylo Ren is actually
a bad
villain.
Guy. Yeah.
And not just
a calculating, smart, intelligent villain. Not an impetulant emo teenager who wants to destroy some computers.
Right, and the Knights Ren are actually threatening versus just,
We see them fight who they're supposed to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, so mission accomplished, Colin Trevorrow, on your Duel of Fates script.
Yeah.
Sorry it didn't get made into the movie, dude.
But they used enough of it that you should have gotten a screenwriting, not just a story, not just a story credit. Should have got screenplay credit too.
But you're a good writer. I'm sure this is not bothering you at all. So
probably not.
Props to you.
Millions of dollars. So yeah, all in all, we really enjoyed having this discussion with you guys, and please like, comment, and subscribe down below, and comment what you guys think of this leak. Let us know. We want to have a discussion with you guys. That's why we're doing this. We want to engage with you guys.
Star Wars fans, tell us what you think. I mean, Duel of Fates or Rise of Skywalker? Which would have you rather have?
Yeah, so I think I'm leaning towards Duel of Fates at this point. And if you want to really know why, you should go watch our Rise of the Skywalker review and discussion.
Comment there.
Yeah, and comment there, because we say some mean-ass things over there. But this is a pretty good script, and I really enjoyed reading it.
And so I'm Matt.
And I'm Mike. Thanks for stopping by Mission Accomplished Media. And like I said, comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Until next time, peace out.
See ya.
Bye.